Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Crossfit Harrow podcast, episode 71. Today we've got Jack Starmer with us. Jack, thanks for joining us.
Hello.
First question that goes out as always is why CrossFit Harrow?
Well, so I moved to Edgware in March last year.
Okay.
I was looking to find a new gym. There was obviously regular gyms in the vicinity. There was a boxing club as well that I was looking at, but I'd been at CrossFit in Willesden before.
Okay, yeah.
In 2019, the summer of 2019. So I did a bit of CrossFit in the off season between my football seasons. But it was something that I thought I want to continue long term. So yeah, I moved to Edgware and CrossFit Harrow was fairly close. It's only like a 20-minute drive.
Okay.
And particularly with the morning classes, no traffic. So yeah, I came down here. I remember having a chat with Keys.
Yeah.
I think I did one on-ramp session before lockdown hit. So it was bad timing in a way, but then obviously you guys set up certain personal one-to-one sessions and outdoors and whatnot. So yeah, that's how I started.
I'm actually quite pleased that you stuck with it, because for some people were in the same position as you and didn't stick with it. And I know it was bad timing, but it was like a test almost of like, not character, but it was a test of your commitment to your own fitness, I guess, really, because it'd have been an easy cop-out.
Absolutely.
To be like, lockdown, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But no, that's good. So you said about boxing. Is that something you've been into?
I used to box at South Oxy boxing gym when I used to live in Rickmansworth. And then I've gone to a few different gyms. I went to All Stars for a bit, Stonebridge Boxing Club.
Oh, I've heard of All Stars actually.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's quite a good. Yeah.
It's near. I think it's near Kensal Green. And then I went to Stonebridge Boxing Club for a bit, which was a good experience. Like, you definitely meet different people to who I would normally meet at work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've not been into boxing for probably a year and a half now.
And is it more the social side, like just the training element of it?
I think I've sparred once or twice, but I go mainly for fitness. Like, football is the main sport. So for me, if I can go boxing twice a week, it's great cardio, core strength, fitness. That's the reason I do CrossFit as well. It's sort of all roads lead to football. That was my main sport, but it still is when I return.
Have you ever watched boxing in the flesh?
No, I was actually going to go last Saturday to Joe Joyce v Takam. So I'm a big fan of Joe Joyce, and tickets were still available, but I couldn't find. None of my mates were interested in going. I had one mate who lives in Bristol, and he was saying, next time Joe Joyce fights, let's go. Then him and his missus had a weekend away in Devon on the same day. So, no, I haven't. Have you been?
I've seen it in the flesh, and up until that point, I'd never really given the credit that they deserve. It's you are in awe of them when they're in the ring. Like, the intensity, it's hard. Like, getting hit is hard. I actually went to watch. I was at York Hall in Bethnal Green. There was like loads of undercards. I can't remember the fights exactly, but it was one of the best one of the best live sports I've ever seen.
It's because it
makes you appreciate it.
The commitment and dedication. Yeah. Like, there's a saying they used to say at Stonebridge Boxing Club. The coaches would say, "You can play cricket, you can play football. You don't play boxing.
Yeah,
like, it's
that's
not
true.
a game.
Yeah,
life and death at times.
Yeah, can be." Okay, so let's talk about career-wise. I've got you down as a senior construction subcontract buyer. That's a mouthful. What is a senior construction subcontract buyer?
So I get asked this so many times, like, by friends, people I meet, whatever. So I work for a construction company, a contractor. So take, for example, our project at the moment is building the new Brent Cross West train station. Okay. So we're building it completely from scratch. All that is there now is the current tracks on the Thameslink line. So my job is to sort of sit down with the project team and devise how we're going to build that station. So, for example, we'll need piling for the groundworks, the foundations. We'll need concrete slabs for the platform, then the finishes on the platforms. We'll need a steel structure for the building. Then on the steel structure, you do your cladding, your glazing, your roofing. So we divvy that up into these packages. Right. And then my job is to then go out to the market, to all the specialists who undertake that work, and get bids in and negotiate with them, come in.
Best prices for...
Well, best quality as well. Quality and price. But with the client, it's always price.
I can imagine. And then, because there was a bit of stick, obviously, with the cladding and stuff, with the events that happened.
Yes.
in, I think, 2018 with Grenfell and stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's been in the paper quite a lot in the news and stuff about the
Massively.
cladding. So has that become like a big thing in your company?
So I'd never actually worked on the cladding package prior to this one, so I don't know if it would have been scrutinised more or less before. But yeah, there's so much emphasis now on fire rating, safety rating, and yeah, the thing about Grenfell is like there's still buildings out there that have the same cladding on.
Yeah.
Like there's one in Edgware, I think is it Premier House by the Broadwalk Centre, that has the Grenfell cladding,
Oh, right.
which for me is disgusting. Like,
Yeah, especially you in that line of work. Like to the average person, they wouldn't, day-to-day person wouldn't know, but in your line of work.
Yeah, and it is worrying. And then obviously, like one of the issues with Grenfell was that the tests were falsified. So when you're looking at data sheets now of cladding, you're like, is this a false?
Yeah.
But
there's no way
you can know,
unless you go and test it physically yourself.
Yeah, but I think people have probably learnt their lessons. Like, don't play around with people's lives.
Yeah, of course. And what kind of pushed you into this role? Is it something you've always been in construction? Have you always wanted to work in construction?
That's such a weird one. So my dad has always worked in construction. So growing up, he was a project manager, so he would work away for the week and stuff. And then I did my A-levels and I really liked economics. I just got really into that. I wasn't the best at it. And I went to uni to do economics and sort of became better at it. But then whilst I was at uni, my flatmate, he was on a course for construction management. And obviously you talk about what coursework you do in your dissertation. I thought that sounds more interesting. Obviously my dad had worked in construction, so I thought maybe that is something I want to go into. But ironically, my dad had always said never go into construction. It's like long hours, hard graft, but he was in a different role to me, I guess. So yeah, I thought I've got an economics degree, I want to get into construction. Like how? Because most of the roles at engineering, quantity surveying, etc. But yeah, there was a grad scheme on offer for procurement. And they wanted to look for people with business economics degrees. And yeah, I got in through that grad scheme in 2016, I think it was. And yeah, I love my job. Like, I really do. I know it sounds so cliche.
No, but it's so good.
I feel lucky that I can say that.
Not a lot of people can say that they say they really enjoy their job. They love going to work. I'm fortunate to speak to quite a lot of people, and not everyone is in that same position. Like some people don't enjoy going to work and see it as almost like a bit of a chore because they want to fund their lifestyle or got bills to pay and whatever it is. But one thing that's kind of struck me the last, let's say 4, 5, maybe more years is consistently doing things that you're happy in.
Yes.
Because that has a better You're more productive at work, you're more productive day to day, friendships, relationships, like you're in a better place.
Absolutely, massively. Like you spend more time at work than anywhere else. So
yeah.
It has to be. Like I've worked jobs, like I remember when I finished uni, I was a manual labourer on a site.
That's a hard job. I've done that. That's a very
I've grafted, and like so now I can appreciate there are some difficult jobs out there, which I think is why I enjoy what I do probably more so.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What kind of what other have you? So all jobs that you've taken have always been around that line.
No, that was just one example. So I used to do house removals between uni term times.
Oh, right.
Door knocking for charity sign-ups on direct debit. I worked at Experian when I finished uni after the manual labouring, which was a financial analyst role.
But I suppose this will all give you... Was that boring, you say?
That was awful, yeah. The people I was working with were just very introverted mathematician type people, which, yeah.
But I suppose all those roles in some way has led to like the position that you're in now, because you'd need maybe a little bit of everything from those.
Yeah, and my dad always used to say, like, there's no such thing as a bad experience.
Yeah, of course.
What you think at the time is a bad experience, you'll look back on and think,
teach you those lessons.
Like, how did I do that? Or look at how much I didn't like my life then and now. And you use all that to grow.
Yeah. And sporting background in school or growing up, like, have you always been in sports?
Yeah, so I've played football like in competitive leagues since I think I was 8 at the time. So it was always football. Like, I'm terrible at cricket. I remember playing as a kid and that was just awful. It was not for me.
Ever get into swimming, tennis, anything like that?
Oh, sorry, tennis. Yeah, I used to play tennis when I was young, not at any sort of competitive level. That was more just 4 of us friends from school when we were about between 10 and 15 would go down. Swimming, I'm awful at. I've never had a swimming lesson in my life because...
Self-taught?
Well, yeah, my dad taught me. I remember going to a lesson once, and this is probably one of my earliest memories, and I locked myself in the cubicle and I wouldn't come out, and I was screaming. And then my dad said, okay, we'll go home. And I came out and went home.
It can, but as a kid, like, it's quite intimidating.
Yeah.
It can be quite intimidating. It's like, well, not intimidating, it's scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Getting into water that you...
Yeah, but now, like, I love the sea and the swimming. But yeah, I'm a weak swimmer, but I don't have the phobia now, let's say.
I actually have a very funny story about swimming, and I'm probably going to get ridiculed for this. Back in primary school, we used to go to these swimming lessons up the road as part of our curriculum, and it was like, who could swim, go to left, who can't, go to right. So having been on holiday abroad, visiting family in Italy and stuff, always going to the sea, I was like, yeah, I can swim. So in the swimming pool was a rail from the deep end to the shallow end. Yeah. And so I jumped in. I think her name was Amanda. For some reason, I remember her name being Amanda. Actually, Amanda was like, right, swim. So I held onto the rail. I was like, yeah, I will do, 1 second. I was pulling myself along the rail. Yeah. She's like, you can swim now. I'm like, yeah, sure, 1 second. And I'm pulling myself I've managed to pull myself, not swam, from the deep end all the way to shallow end. She's like, you can't swim, can you? I was like, no, I don't think I can. And started taking lessons after that, but now I could swim. But it's funny. I found it like scary at the time.
And as a child, you don't want to ever admit you can't do something.
Yeah.
You're so brave and gung-ho as a child.
Yeah, I just didn't want to say that I couldn't swim. Yeah. So football's been a big sport of yours.
Yeah.
You said competitively played?
Yeah. So growing up, I played for a team called West Bridgeford.
Okay.
They now have a semi-professional men's side. Sort of played for them, played in the under-19 side, and then went to uni.
Okay. Then
at uni, I just played for a Saturday team. I didn't play for the uni, which is probably one of my biggest regrets. I remember going to the trials and they called me back for the second round, just didn't go. Then my mates started playing, and the second year they were like, oh, come along. I went again, and then I just didn't go for the next round of trials. And I had friends who played with me on a Saturday and for the uni, and they kept saying, why don't you come? I enjoyed the Saturday football. I enjoyed that. Like, and also the team on a Saturday was a mix of, there was about 4 or 5 of us students, and the rest were locals from Bristol. And they're still my mates now. Like, I speak to them.
Football does tend to do that. It brings people together.
I wouldn't know half the people I know now if I didn't play football.
Yeah, so. It's a very social sport. I remember when I used to play, you just know everyone from everywhere. There's some connection to a team or to a game that's been played or something like that.
So did you play around Edgware?
Long time ago. I've probably stopped playing when I was 21. 21, around like Harefield way.
Oh yeah.
Harefield, football team that you follow?
So I'm a Liverpool fan. Yeah.
Don't see many of those around anymore.
Well, they've all come out again.
So you were obviously working, managing football and stuff, but that's kind of led you into the fitness that I've always wanted to test fitness, I suppose. Yeah. And recently you took part in an ultra, the correct terminology is a 75-mile ultra marathon challenge.
Yeah, that was...
Why did you, where did it come from?
I think this boils down to my sort of borderline obsessive personality. So in lockdown, probably towards the back end of last year, throughout any time, we'll say everyone started going out walking, and I would go on walks with my mates or my partner at the time around the local area. And I think I noticed once there was a sign saying Capital Ring, and there's a logo on it, and it was on like one of the footpath signs. And I just thought, I wonder what that is. So I went home that day, Googled it, and I saw it was this, it's between the 75 and 83 miles. No one actually knows because of diversions and closures.
Okay.
So yeah, it was this circular route around London, and I just fell down a rabbit hole psychologically of becoming obsessed. Like, I've got to do that. I have to do that. So it wasn't like an organised event or anything. It was just me, and at the time there was a mate who was going to do it, called Charlie, and we basically thought, let's do it for charity as well. We studied the route, and in the end, Charlie got stuck in Australia due to a COVID lockdown, so he couldn't join. But yeah, I just became obsessed. I was meticulously planning it all, like going out walking and timing myself, like how many miles per hour can I walk. And then I was trying to build into running when obviously because of my knee injury, I started running again. And then a lot of the parks on the route are closed at night. So you have to plan like, where am I going to start and finish, and how can I avoid all the park closures? Where are you going to fill up with water?
So was you doing this at night?
So I started it at just after 6 a.m. in Hendon Park, because that was the only way I could get all the way back round to Hendon Park without any park closures.
Wow, that must have taken you quite a while to figure all this stuff out.
Oh yeah, I walked the route in sections, so every weekend I'd go and do like a quarter of it with a mate or someone. So I had an idea of what parks would be open. And
this organisation probably comes down to your job role as well, right?
Possibly, yeah.
That would have required such organisation, going out every weekend, doing those quarter routes.
I had spreadsheets made.
Did you?
Literally, yeah, with the times and where taps were and pubs and cafes to fill up. I say taps, with COVID, all water taps were switched off, which really annoyed me massively.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like Richmond Park, I emailed them, they said all our taps are switched off, and for me that was a key, that was a bit of a gap between the last pub cafe.
What was they just said because of COVID they're closing the taps?
Yeah, they don't give an excuse, they just
COVID.
Which
I do feel
frustrates me, I don't know.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I think there are a lot of things that are happening and people are like, oh, COVID, and you're like, okay, but why?
Yeah,
It's just used as an excuse where people can get away with it, as that example. So you had these spreadsheets done, found out the times of how long it's going to take you, certain places, and you were practicing every day or just the weekends?
I was practicing daily, so I'd do a CrossFit workout and then try and go for a run with 8 kilos in a backpack.
Okay.
To simulate being fatigued and knackered and stuff. But I only had about 2 months of running before the day of the marathon. So it was hard to get much running training in. So it was mostly walking at a fast pace.
75 miles ultra marathon challenge. How long did that take?
So it was just under 22 hours. I really wanted to do it in less than 22 hours, and I beat it by 4 minutes.
Wow.
So I was
chuffed.
I was ecstatic, yeah. And yeah, so close that 4 minutes over that length of time,
because I did see, obviously, you post socially about it. You said about people joining. Did you get people join you on the route?
Yeah, so I had mates who joined at sections. So they'd come and bring me a bottle of water. That was all I wanted from them, because I had a bag which had flasks of water in and my energy bars and gels. Because I was very obsessed about what I was taking on board.
Well, that was going to be one of my next questions, about your intake of food throughout that 22.
Yeah, because you hear stories about people throwing up because they can't handle it. So I took just easy to digest gels, bars, and I did half the route the week before to test sort of what I could take on, and that was hard, but I didn't feel sick or anything. But at the end of that, so I did 40 miles the Friday before, and I couldn't walk, and I seriously thought about, I don't know if I can do almost double that length. There was times I was considering maybe telling everyone I can't do it, I'm going to have to do it in 2 sections, but yeah, in the end that would eat away at me. And
of course.
I'd have to do the whole thing at some point in my life, and I just thought I can't be bothered to go through all this again, so I may as well.
I bet because as much as it's exciting, it would have been quite draining as well, right? As in the organisation, the testing of everything.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
It was expensive. I had to pay for a Garmin watch that would last 24 hours because this doesn't. I had to buy the hydration vest, which was 100 quid. There's all sorts of random stuff.
What was your? Did you do some sort of carb loading or anything like that a few days before, or did you just treat it normally?
No, the night before. I made a conscious effort the day before not to have any dairy.
Okay.
Sometimes when I have dairy and I come to work out or go for a run, I'll throw up.
Have you ever found that have you ever tested being lactose intolerant?
Not done a test. I guess most humans are to some extent.
Yeah.
So for me, it only comes on if I'm pushing myself to the limit. So the night before I had basically chicken, broccoli, tomato and pasta, just like fresh veg, no sauces or nothing. And that seems. And then in the morning, I knew I had to try. I was going to try and eat 3 slices of toast with peanut butter, but I was so nervous. I couldn't. I had 1.5 slices. I could not eat, which is pathetic. Like, it's not much food at all. And
I would say that.
Really nervous.
You know, I was expecting. You know, I was expecting you to be like, the few days before I had X amount of pasta or rice. I carb loaded for a few days. The morning before, I had an oat-based breakfast.
No.
But you got through it. You had the energy to get through it.
Yeah. Halfway on the real thing, I started to like suffer massively with. It was like the top of my foot was agony, which at the time I didn't really know what it was, but I think it was a stress fracture, which can happen if you just ramp up an activity you've never done before. So like walking, running that distance. I was close to quitting. So my dad met me for that point, and I was saying to him, like, I don't think I can do this.
Oh, right.
And he was like, well, we need to decide. Do you want to go to a shop and buy some painkillers and just do it, or stop? And I knew, like, if I stopped and I'd have to do it all again, I didn't want to walk that first half, or run for the 4th time it would be, because of doing it in sections, the practice run, the failed attempt. And there's a section called the Greenway, which is so dull. It's just 2 or 3 miles of just a straight tarmac path in East London with nothing to look at. And psychologically, I couldn't put myself through that again.
Yeah, it was hard. I mean, did you have any music on the way?
No, I
Nothing.
didn't take headphones. So people think I'm mad. But a lot of the time, if I go out running I don't listen to music. And for me, headphones would have been another thing to worry about. Like,
batteries.
It's stupid. It's just obsessive, yeah. And I knew that I was only doing like a quarter of it without company. And I don't mind just cracking on. And there were times when my mates joined, so 2 of my good friends, James and Tom, and I had to say to them, I was like, I don't want to talk at this stage. Like, so they joined me for the last 2 legs. I said, I don't want to talk, let's just walk. And like, they know that I'm not saying that out of rudeness. It's just mentally I was in a place where
you needed to focus
big time.
Yeah.
I just needed to just walk,
tune in,
not talk. Yeah.
Am I right in saying that you done it for a charity? You linked it to charity.
So I did it for Mind, the mental health charity, and Women's Aid as well.
Okay. What made you pick those 2 charities?
I think with Mind, it was obviously a lot of people struggled in lockdown, being cooped inside and stuff. I think we all did, to be honest, to a certain extent. So that was the reason for that. And then Women's Aid, so the route goes through near Clapham, where Sarah Everard was kidnapped and murdered. And it also goes through Friant Country Park, where...
Oh yeah, there was 2...
Nicole Smallman and Beaver Henry were murdered as well last summer.
That was through lockdown as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. And that didn't get much media attention, and there was a whole issue with police taking pics with bodies. And I just thought, like, violence against women, we need to stand, as males, we probably need to have more of a voice and stand up about that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree actually. That the whole kind of social front that came with the Sarah Everett thing, the incident, how women were displaying their, what's the right words? How sometimes they lived in fear of going out and stuff. And I think as males, I can speak for myself. You go out, I don't feel like I fear anything when I go out. No. But we wouldn't know that. We wouldn't know women do, because we're obviously not women, and they experience that, but we're kind of oblivious to it. Yeah,
and what I always think is, like, at night, if we're walking around, there's often times where we'd be walking behind a woman.
Yeah.
And you don't think that they think you could be bad. Like, we would walk and think, oh, I'm a nice person. Like,
just get minding your own business.
They should know nothing will happen. But why should they know? Like, and obviously after that happened, a lot of women spoke out about anyone walking behind them at night. They put their keys in their hands. And they'd go into like fight or flight mode. Which we would be oblivious to, I guess. It's
quite a scary world in that sense, and like the male kind of being the superior, or deemed to be the superior kind of or dominant gender. But hopefully that raised awareness to another, X amount of people, the fundraiser that you've done?
Yeah. So I guess the awareness, you could even say, is more than the money itself.
Of course.
Like having a male person, I don't want to say a role model because I'm not, but just a male to raise
take
money
that step.
Yeah. Because I would guess that most people fundraising for Women's Aid are women. That's a guess. I don't know. Could be ignorant. But out of my mates and challenges that I've done in the past, or my mates done, I've never noticed us do Women's Aid.
Yeah, to be honest, I've never encountered another male to do that. So hats off. You had a knee injury. You had an ACL reconstruction.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
So the operation itself was August last year. So almost a year. But the injury was about 5 years ago.
Right.
And it's been like just so frustrating. So it was after uni, moved back to Nottingham for a bit, and I was playing for a team there. We had a pre-season friendly, and just got my knee blown out from the side. And I had a year off then, just went through physio, and they sort of...
How did you find that with not being able to train to the physicality that you were before, or to the intensity?
Well, weirdly enough, after the first year of recovering, I felt fine. I felt brilliant. So I moved down to London. I was playing for Oxyjets, who's probably one of the highest standards I've played at, and I felt brilliant. And then sort of over the next 2-3 years, it just started to get worse again, and I'd be like, after training or a match, my knee would be so sore. And
do you think that's maybe because of the level of attention you paid to the rehab? Were you still doing it, or were you just kind of...
So that's the key, yeah. So during the 13 months, I think it was, of rehab, I was so focused on that. Then as soon as you get told you can play football again, it just goes out the window. You just go back to playing football, going to the gym, but not focusing on the leg in particular. So it just wears down.
I was going to just say that I don't necessarily think that's a football injury. I think a lot of people do that. You get injured.
Yeah.
You spend time. Generally, people don't, but hopefully most people would start to spend time fixing that injury.
Yeah.
As soon as they, let's say, become more abled and injury free, they forget all the stuff that they've just been practicing or trying to reconstruct in order to get better.
Yeah.
So it was becoming too painful.
Yeah, so it was in the time I realised that I need to get this looked at. It was in lockdown last year at some point last summer when there was no gyms or anything. So I was doing a lot of stuff at home. So it was like just body weight exercises, and I think I was doing lunges. It was either jumping lunges or normal lunges or both. Anyway, my knee kept just like collapsing, and it would be agony. So I realised I needed something done. Luckily, through work, we have Bupa Healthcare, so I thought I may as well use that. So I went to get it seen. They said that the ACL was so stretched that it wasn't doing anything. It was basically like not having an ACL, and that playing football really shouldn't have been on the cards at all. But I'd been playing without knowing that I shouldn't be playing, essentially. Wow. So I was probably doing more damage to it. Then they did the operation, which they said probably 12 months full rehab. So we're coming up to 12 months now.
Which is insane because let's say footballers in the Prem, their ACL recovery would be a lot less than 12 months. Yeah. Obviously the treatment's very different, but 12 months is a long time to be
massively
out.
Yeah, and like it sounds cliche, but like I love football. I absolutely love playing it. I prefer playing it to watching it and supporting it because of all the issues and the fans who aren't true football fans that get involved. But when you're playing at the level and like grassroots level, people are there because they enjoy the sport. Yeah, they're not there to cause trouble, abuse people.
Well, the thing is, most people, I would probably say that most people playing football, if not everyone, isn't there to cause trouble. It's just purely because you enjoy the sport, you're good at the sport, and you get paid well to play the sport if you're lucky enough.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think the fan element. I think especially going back to the Euros, we saw that obviously at Wembley the last few games that people breaking the stadium and doing bits like that is the sad side to football.
Massively. And the thing about that Wembley incident is people like we had Hillsborough obviously, but that Hillsborough was the police opening the gates. It wasn't fans going in. obviously the stadium became overcrowded. Fans breaking into Wembley, that could be killing people.
Yeah.
Like, luckily it was at reduced capacity because of COVID or whatever. But if that had 90,000 people in, and you have however many more thousands coming in, that's how people die.
Yeah, I guess, you know what? Until you had said that, I'd never looked at it in that way.
And that for me, like,
it's strong. It's quite sad. I hadn't looked at it like that, but that's actually very, very true.
It's not just you getting in for a free game. It's
other people's lives.
People's lives at risk.
Yeah, of course. So the ACL reconstruction went pretty smooth.
Yeah.
12 months worth of rehab. At what point within those 12 months were you like, right, I was going to go and do the ultra marathon? Was it? Because obviously
I started planning it in either January or late last year when I was sort of hardly walking. Well, I was walking, so I was still very injured at that point.
So you said August, September, October, only like five or so months in.
Yeah, so there was a time I started running in October, and then I had a setback, so I had to stop again. But in my mind, I always knew, like, if I plan this for July, that's
the target.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a goal to achieve, that I want to be running and walking fast by then, and like without a limp or anything. So yeah, and it's important in anything. If you set yourself a goal, target, more than likely you will achieve it, because
it's that accountability. You're saying I want, and especially, I think it helps a lot of people if you tell people about the things that I know. There's a whole thing, you should work in silence sometimes and do that. But if you're someone that is known to not achieve, if you tell someone or tell people that this is your goal and this is what you want to do, you now have the responsibility of completing that, because you told those people.
And that, I suppose that links in. So whilst I said I was planning it from December, January, I didn't actually set up the fundraising page and start publicising it until it's probably like May, because I didn't want to put this goal out there and then too early without having planned it all. But when I planned everything and I knew my recovery was going well, that's when I could start advertising it.
It becomes real then as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I had mates, like one of my best mates, I've known him since 2011 at uni, so 10 years now. We were at the pub and he was like, you can't do it in 24 hours. I said, I can. He says, you can't. And he said, I'll donate you 100 quid if you do it in 24 hours. He was that certain. We shook on it the next day when we were sober. He was like, yeah, I'll stick to that. And,
fair play.
So that was motivation for me. I was like, I'm doing it. I said I'll do it in less than 22 hours. I was confident, and which I did. So and he kept his word. He donated the 100.
Good, fair play to him.
So
Did at any point in the challenge your knee give you any?
No, that was the best thing. My good knee, my right knee, was a little bit sore at the end of it. But my left knee was absolutely fine, which for me was probably one of the biggest wins out of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the aim now is to slowly start going back to playing football.
Yes.
Have you experimented in that sense, like the lateral movements, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I went back to pre-season training on Tuesday, which went well, and then towards the end of the session, I think it was a 2-hour session, it started to feel just a bit. My whole leg just felt fatigued, because it is still weaker. Like, it's visibly weaker still. But before that, like I'd got my housemate to come out to the park and help me out with, like, just throwing a ball, doing some touches, running backwards, side to side, like you say.
Those movements.
Because it's very easy to, like, I can come here and I can do box jumps. I've been doing them for months.
Yeah,
that's obviously just straight. So I had to sort of start moving about. And then when I trained on Tuesday and we had the sort of a small-sided match at the end, you can't prepare for that, because the way you're turning and stuff, you're not even thinking about it, and that would be the biggest challenge to get back to that. Because
it's Pittshanger Dynamo FC that you play for.
Yes,
and starting pre-season, they're probably always, I guess, it's also your pre-season, but they're always going to be looking for players, getting people in.
Exactly. Sponsorship,
things like that.
Yeah.
What would you say some of the barriers that, like, at that level of football, of like either getting people through the door or getting a turnout for? Is there, you still got those consistent amount of people coming through?
Yeah, we've never struggled to put teams out. Not since I've joined, at least. I've been there for 3 years. We've had a first team and a reserve team. who have both been successful. Like the reserves won a cup and had 2 consecutive promotions, and the first team have been pushing for promotion. They were in the FA Vars a couple of years ago. So player-wise, we do attract a lot of players. Like we have social media handles and people will message. So on Tuesday, we had, I think, 5 lads down who had messaged on Instagram and come down. But the main barrier for us is funding. So the team was only set up by Alex, I think, when he finished uni. So I think he's 6 years older than me. So he would have finished maybe 2011, I think. So the team is only 10 years old, and as a men's team in that division,
it's quite a small amount of time.
We've got teams who have been founded in the 60s, 70s, 80s, who have proper infrastructure. They have a committee members. They have a ground, whereas we ground share with North Greenford. We had ground share with Hanwell Town before. So yeah, we are a young club in that sense, and that is the biggest barrier, is having relationships with commercial companies and stuff to.
Because I guess one of the other, it was a very small way of getting that funding, but is being successful in cup competitions, because obviously through cup competitions there's financial reward.
Yes.
But again, that depends on the quality of the players, the team.
So I don't think we were in the FA Vars last season. I can't remember.
Because it means a lot to the small teams.
Yeah.
It means a lot.
Like if you win the first round in the FA Vars, I think it's like 500.
Yeah, I think between £500 and £800.
Yeah, which is a good amount. At the minute, we've got all kit at the minute, that's fine, but come next year we'll probably need a new kit with a new sponsor on the front, and we offer like sponsorship of the match day programs, and there's all sorts. But yeah, it's
what league? What league is it on?
So the first team are in the Middlesex County Premier, and the reserves are in the Middlesex County Division 1, so just one below. So both fairly close to each other. But yeah, it's with sponsorship as well. It's like it's a vicious cycle. So you want to build up your social media to attract commercial opportunities, and to build up your social media, you'll need, a lot of clubs will have like a VO camera or a camera on a big tripod that films the games.
Yeah.
Then you have certain clips that go out, generate media and social media attention, and then that builds your following up. But we can't afford to have that equipment because we don't have the commercial sponsorship.
Yeah,
the commercial sponsorship would come if we grew our following. So it's very
that cycle, and also that kit, that stuff is very expensive.
Oh, massively.
It can't be just like, I mean, you could put a tripod up and a camera, but it won't capture the same. And they're made for sports games, right?
Yeah. So those VO cameras, it's artificial intelligence, so it follows the ball. You don't need anyone manning it, but they're thousands of pounds, and you have to pay a monthly fee as well. So we've looked at all sorts of odd ways of getting around it. So maybe getting like a temporary scaffold platform, putting a small tripod like this on that with someone. Like we advertise to unis that if there's anyone working in like sports, business, media, if they want to get involved, which we had a couple of people, and then the season got cancelled again because of lockdown. But there's a team who are entering, I think, Division 1 this season called Rising Ballers.
Oh yeah, so they've had a lot of TV, haven't they?
Massively, yes. They've got the Instagram page Rising Ballers has tens of thousands of followers. Their team is Rising Ballers FC, which has tens of thousands of followers. They played Sunday League traditionally, and they're now entering our division. But they've played the game perfectly. Like they have a really good social media team. They film the games, they generate clips, they make it look really good and professional. But don't they have some? Because I have seen some clips on Instagram and stuff, and I think like Circle, I used to, having taught before in the past. I think there were some of them students that also playing for those. Yeah. They have some not A-list celebrities, but like B-list celebrities that play that also publish or help push that campaign. Yeah. So they do have a lot of involvement.
Because they've got, I think they're on Sky One. They're on. I'm sure they've been on TV.
They probably have. All I've seen is the Instagram. But yeah, they've obviously done really well to generate. I don't know how it started, but they've obviously got a team now. They've got a lot of funding behind them, so it'll be interesting to. Yeah,
I think they've been on TV, but they do have a massive following. We were saying before we came on air, that growing a social media following is quite challenging.
Yeah.
It is very challenging. No matter what line of work that you're in, it's hard to get those people to follow your activity and retain them too, because it's just a touch of a button, isn't it? Just follow, unfollow. Yeah. And it's putting out that media for them that they're going to want to extract.
Yeah. And now it loads of business is done by that, by like what's your pull, what's your social media pull, and it's such an easy way to measure. Yeah. Because before social media, if you were a marketing manager or a company and you said, oh, we have this pull of however many people in the local area, how would you prove that?
Yeah.
It'd be so difficult. But now it's like, let's just look on your profile.
Yeah, 10,000 followers, 2 million followers, That's true. I never looked at it in that way.
And like you say, it's so easy to unfollow. Like, we're all guilty of it. You see something that's posted and you're like, oh, well, I don't want to see
But I wonder, because they're obviously, with all the stuff that's gone on, especially in football with racism and stuff, I wonder if there's going to be a change to if you want to get on social media, that you have to prove your identity. Yeah. And I wonder how much of an impact that will have on businesses or people, Instagrammers.
I think a lot of companies will pay. Well, they pay for followers now, which is that
still a thing?
Yeah. I know people who have businesses and do. I told someone at work he was setting up his own business, and he was like mid-40s, and he was asking like, oh, if we set up an Instagram page, like, what should we do? I told him to buy followers. And
I didn't think that existed anymore.
But yeah, so that'll obviously be removed because all of those bots, there'll be no way of them getting on the platforms.
So there are a lot of bots.
And sometimes you can tell, like if you're on a profile and it has 50,000 followers, but it's only getting 200-300 likes on each post, it's probably probably not real followers.
But I think my understanding is that the interaction comes from commenting, the use of hashtags. That's where you get to see. You kind of unlock like new levels because that will boost, I don't know, your profile. That will make people aware of you and stuff like that.
Oh, and it like on the algorithms, it'll put you on the second button in. I don't know what.
The explore. The explore. Yeah. It's a tricky game. It's a very tricky game.
And I think what I've heard as well from people I know who
are in that.
I wouldn't know if they'd call themselves influencers, but they've said that, for example, if you post a story with a poll, like a yes or no, that automatically gets people to like click yes or no. Then that counts as a engagement, which means that'll be published, that their page will then be published more and more.
That's very smart
for you. If you want to start
I'm going to put it up after this.
Like, did you like this podcast? Or box jumps, and people will just put one or the other.
But that's, I guess, because it gives you, I mean, it might not be relevant to you, but it's just the fact that you get the choice of clicking. Yeah.
And like, we've all voted on crap that we don't care about. Yeah. Like, I'll try to think of an example, like a food page that puts dessert or main. You just tap it as you swipe.
No, you're not wrong. What are the what's the plans for you career-wise the next 6 months or 12 months? Like, what do you want from you for you, or what's personal goals?
The next 6 months. Don't know. I'm quite happy the company I'm in now, the position. So I only got to this position in October last year, so. Yeah, probably just continue. I mean, maybe
mastering that role.
Yeah. In 12 months, maybe try and progress to the next level. But yeah, for the 6 months, happy where I am.
And what about your fitness goals now, moving forward? Because obviously the aim is to get that knee, moving laterally and stuff. What are your goals now for the next 6 months or 12?
I definitely want to become stronger. So I feel like, for example, when we're doing WODs and stuff, I feel like I'm fairly fit. So I remember there was a WOD where it was just rowing and V-ups.
50.
And I felt really good at that because there was no weights involved. But as soon as it comes to chucking a barbell in, that's where I really struggle. So I think I just need to really push heavier weights and try and get stronger.
Consistent in kind of loading that barbell relevant to you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Jack, thank you very much for your time today. It's been good talking to you.
Me.
Guys and girls, see you again next week.